Hello and welcome back to KSP Real Solar System campaign. We are back with our Mars spacecraft right here, and we are going to make some plans for dropping our lander spacecraft down on Mars. Now, before we can do that, there are a few problems we'll have to contend with. Now, one of the problems we have is that our orbit, the periapse of our orbit, is on the dark side of Mars, which is facing away from Earth, which you can see over here, by the way. And that means that once we drop our rover down here, it's not going to be able to communicate with Earth, and it's not going to be able to transmit any scientific data once it lands. So what I'm thinking is that I'm going to try to air brake a bit more to get the orbit lower. Then once I release the lander spacecraft and put that on a course for landing on Mars, I'm going to try to boost the orbit of the main spacecraft higher on this side, so that once it extends out here, it will be able to have better communication with Earth. And this spacecraft does have multiple antennas on it, these two, so I can use one of these antennas to communicate with a rover and then relay the signal back to Earth with the main antenna here. So our main spacecraft will kind of function like a communication satellite for our rover. I'm going to lower our periapse back down again, and I'm going to try with I'm going to try with 70 kilometers and see how that works, and hopefully we won't burn up. That is going to be quite deep into the atmosphere, but you have to remember that Martian atmosphere is pretty thin to begin with. So I'm going to drop back down into the atmosphere and see what kind of effect that will have on my the apoapse of our orbit. It does look like the spacecraft is stabilizing fairly well aerodynamically, and unfortunately I didn't manage to pull in all my solar panels before I dropped into the atmosphere. But that may actually not be a problem, because the solar panels are still there, and so the heat at this altitude is not really enough to damage our spacecraft in any way, I think. So we can have a look at the orbital view here, and you can see our apoapse is dropping considerably. So the air braking maneuver does seem to be working as intended. So I just did another pass through the Martian atmosphere, and you can see that our apoapse has dropped down to 8.5 million kilometers, and I'm going to go with that for now. So the next thing is we need to try to see how far we can boost our periapse up after we've detached the lander, of course. I'm just going to get a sense of how much delta V that is going to take. And yeah, it's going to take quite a bit of delta V actually. But I'm going to detach right now. And there we go. And that does add a little bit of delta V to our spacecraft, though we just have 136 on that particular in this particular tank. There's very little fuel, as you can see, and one of the problems is that the kerosene is actually evaporating from the tank very slowly, but over the course of a couple of years, which could very well be the length of this mission. That has certainly had an effect. Let's have a look at where the antenna is on this. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to activate that, point it at Earth, and it is not in range actually. so the antenna is not powerful enough. But that's okay, because we can connect to the Endeavour 2 instead, which was the plan all along, really. So go back here, activate this, and point it at the there you go, the Endeavour 2 probe. So now we do have connection, and you can it's too close yet to see that, but we certainly have connection now. Going to activate the RCS. We do have quite a bit of our, well, no, it's actually not that much, but I do think it should be enough. Going back to the main spacecraft now, we need to point us in the right direction and get ready to fire up that engine. And just going to see exactly how high we're going to get our orbit, or our periapse rather. Hopefully a couple of million meters over Mars. So gonna point us in the right direction and fire it up. And our periapse rises quite quickly to start with here, and keep burning that RCS fuel. And that is the main engine fuel gone. So we only have the RCS now to rely on. So we're going to see how far that can take us. So after a fairly long and tedious burn with the RCS engines, I did raise my periapse up to over 5 million meters, which should offer us a much better connection with Earth. You can see as we pass over here, we should have a pretty decent connection for most of the orbit, and hopefully this will go well. So I'm going to switch back over to the lander right now, and the lander is not going to land right away. I think we're going to do some aero braking first and slowly lower the apoapse down, and until we decide to go for the actual landing. Also waiting a little bit before going for the landing itself is going to enable us to test our connection with Earth and just see how this performs. Now, after giving this a little bit more thought, I've decided to go straight for the landing anyway. The reason being that, if you look at the map here, we are going to pass down like this, but at the time when we enter the atmosphere right here, the main spacecraft is going to be maybe somewhere around here, and we are going to have good connection at this point. And so there really is no point in waiting for the actual landing. So I'm going to point myself in the right direction and use the RCS on this craft to lower our periapse down to, well, I'm going to go for 30 kilometers, and hopefully that will be sufficiently deep into the atmosphere to go for landing. And as you can see, we are getting pretty close to the atmosphere right now, and we have good connection with Earth via the main spacecraft here. And though I can't really wait too long before making my landing for the And you can see now that we have entered the top of the Martian atmosphere, and we do have a good connection. And if we look a little bit at the map here, we should have a connection for the entirety of the landing, I think. Well, it might be a little bit dodgy over here, but I think I think we should be good to go. And we have a bit of scientific experiments that we can start transmitting right away, since we haven't had the ability to transmit any data from the atmosphere so far, despite our many passes through. So we are getting down to 50 kilometers right now, and you can see the orbital camera changing the perspective there, which indicates that we are either on a collision course or a landing course towards Mars, and we'll see which of those two it will be. But for now, we're going to collect some additional science data here, and the atmospheric analysis gives us 168 science points, which is quite a lot, I think. And this is... I wonder how much science we're going to have at the end of this mission. It's going to be a lot, certainly. Now, the altitude meter here says 24 kilometers, but it does not look like we are, well, 23 kilometers above the surface right now. So that indicates we are landing on a fairly elevated part of Mars. Maybe a mountainous region of sorts. And so not sure if that's going to pose much problem for us. But one problem is that it could affect the parachute deployment. But we'll see how, we'll just have to see how that goes. Getting down to, going to cut the engine there to conserve fuel. Yeah. Okay, I think we are getting pretty close to the surface right now. We are definitely not 17 kilometers above the actual surface. We are much higher than that. So I just have to fire the engines, and I can't really see well what our true altitude is at the moment. So I'm going to try to deploy the parachutes here, and it failed. Reason too high. So yeah, that was what I feared, actually. Can I I'm flying blind here pretty much. I don't know how. Oh, we are gonna impact. We are so close to the surface. Oh my. I can see. Oh, come on now. Need to straighten this up. We are so close to the surface, even though it says 15 kilometers. Ah, come on now. We are just sort of hovering above the surface right now. And we are going too much sideways. So I have to try to... Oh, no, that is going too fast. Oh, tipped over on the side. Yeah. Can we actually deploy the rover from here? I very much doubt it, but we're going to try anyway. Oh, that sort of did something. Oh, it actually tipped us over on the right side. Oh my, that is... Oh, no, 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 don't go. Oh, don't tip back over again. Come on, stabilize, stabilize. Ah, there we go. We landed. Oh, that was... Well, that was quite a stroke of luck right there. That we actually ended up landing in the correct direction. So, first thing we're going to do is start collecting the science data here, and there's going to be 60 science from there and 240 from the atmospheric analysis. That is absolutely brilliant. We're going to have so much science points after this, and oh my. So there we go, that was so close to failing, oh my god. Ah yes, I landed on the dark side. The altitude meter was trying to fool me, and the parachutes did not deploy, and still we landed on the wrong side. But then the doors, the service bay doors opened up and tipped us over on the right side. But now let's go for rover deployment here. Ooh, there is some power in that. And now hopefully this won't tip over. So the wheels are going to be I know I'm gonna have to reconfigure the wheels so that's the steering here is correct. So I figured out the right way to configure those wheels, and the rover is just working beautifully here. We can drive this around as much as we like and explore new areas of Mars that we wouldn't have been able to reach otherwise. You can already see that we entered a new biome here, the highlands of Mars. So you can transmit new data. Well, not all of it. Let's see. Yeah, there are no certain modules, I think, which are sensitive to that. I know. Yeah, oh, we almost ruined our rover there, but it is fine, it is fine. It's a bit bumpy around there, I think. And you can see some glitches as well in the terrain, but still, this is pretty cool, I think. And we are back at the Space Center after a successful Mars rover mission. That was, well, I think that's the best mission we've had so far in terms of science, because we got 1732 science points now. So we are going to have a good look at what kind of modules we'll research now. So I ended up researching a whole bunch of things, most importantly nuclear propulsion, and we are going to have a look at designing some nuclear powered spacecrafts in the future for interplanetary missions. Then also some subgroups of technology here. I also researched scanning tech, because that is a prerequisite for the advanced science tech, which will unlock mineral processing units and stuff like that. Then I also went for electronics, which unlocks a water purifier, recycler, carbon extractor and air filter, as well as a double C seismic accelerometer. And that is, these life support modules is certainly going to be useful for longer duration manned missions in the future. But that will be it for this episode of KSP Real Solar System Campaign. So we concluded our Mars mission in this episode, and we, with a bit of luck, managed to land our rover on Mars and gathered a ton of science from that. So this was one of the more successful missions to date, I would say, and we'll see where the next mission takes us. But for now, take care and bye.